Greetings, pharmacology students, and welcome to NUR 187, Pharmacology and Safe Medication Administration for the spring 2024 semester, course number 28061. My name is Glenna Bayer. I'm your instructor. I've been teaching at MCC since 2005 through 2017 when I semi-retired. Since then, I've been living in Loveland, Colorado, and I've continued to teach pharmacology and HCR 240, which is human pathophysiology for MCC online, of course. And I also teach part-time for a company that provides NCLEX review for RNs and PNs, like that 3-day review you get at the very end of all of your schooling in preparation for you to be successful on your licensure exams. I have a little bit of concern about who's all enrolled in this class. So typically the way you get into this class is by being referred to me by a nursing advisor, and then I provide you with an override code. This class, NUR 187, was invented basically as a prerequisite for paramedics and LPNs who are prepping to enter the bridge program, likely next semester or possibly in the next semester. Basically, it's good for your prereq for a period of a year. However, I think there's some other kinds of students that might be in here, and I'm concerned about your preparation to be in here. And if you're not properly prepared, your ultimate success in this course. It is for practitioners who have experience in medication administration. Occasionally, I do get a Block 3 or Block 4 student where this course has been recommended maybe by their faculty to prop them up a little bit as far as medications go. But this is not a course for students who are in the CNA program. This is not a way for you to get pharmacology under your belt, let's say. It is not an intro to pharmacology. It's pretty intensive. Yes, it's only an 8-hour course. I have a feeling that some advisors might be putting students in here who are waiting to get into the nursing program. This is not a proper course for you. Don't see how you could be successful in it if you don't have any prior experience with patient care. One of the things that's incorporated into this class is virtual simulations where you have to actually give medications and you have to do the proper assessments and you have to check the proper laboratory values prior to giving a med. And you have to look for the proper response. And if you don't have any experience, like I say, with patient care and actually administering medications in the past, I think you're going to have a very difficult time. So if you think you might be in this course by error, go ahead and either go back and talk to a nursing advisor or send me a message in Canvas, and I'd advise you to withdraw from this course at the moment. It doesn't mean it wouldn't be appropriate for you in the future. As I say, it was initiated as a prerequisite for experienced paramedics, experienced LPNs who are looking to get into advanced placement. So with that said, welcome to those of you that are here. We're going to take a quick tour through Canvas. You're already in Canvas if you're watching this video, so we're not going to spend much time here. We're going to go through the syllabus, which includes the course schedule, and then I'm going to take you to Lippincott, which is where a lot of your learning activities are, as well as your testing. Your PrepU quizzing and exams are found in the Lippincott site. I'm in the student view right now. This course, as of the time I'm taping, is unpublished, but this is pretty much what you'll see in Canvas when you open it. You see this is a week 1 getting started, or AKA I call it success module. This is where it's opportunity for you to try out all these different technologies. I have a practice Prep You quiz for you. You get some extra credit. You get 1 point of extra credit. You get 1 point of extra credit for completing the syllabus quiz, which is here inside Canvas. And then if you go to the Lippincott site, you can take this practice Prep You quiz. You can also do a practice VSIM. For those of you who have never used an ebook, you're going to need this week to get acclimated to how the ebook is used. How do we use all these other electronic resources, and especially the VSIM, the virtual simulation. That is, I'm going to go more in depth in that in a minute. That's actually a real life, supposedly mimicking a real life scenario where you're interfacing and interacting with a patient who is talking back to you and answering your questions, by the way. So we have this chance for you to pick up some extra credit. I strongly encourage you to do that. And then also, this talks about how you can access instructor highlights in the ebook. There is a tremendous amount of reading that is assigned here. I don't want to scare you off when we get to the course schedule and you look at how much reading there is every week. Please know that at the top of every chapter, I have identified a few learning objectives. In most cases, it is 3 or 4 or 5 learning objectives from what might be a much longer list. And then I also ask you to learn about one drug in each class that is being represented in the chapter. Once you start to realize that your drug classes are identified by suffix or by last name, I call them, then that gives you a huge advantage as you go through life. There are about 4,000 new medications that are introduced every year. You're never going to know all the medications that are out there, but you will know the drug classes by their suffix for the most part. Most medications, I want to say over 95% of them, do follow the suffix rules, and the manufacturers follow the suffix rules so that when a new ACE inhibitor, for instance, is put on the market, you'll know that it ends in pril. And that's going to give you a huge advantage if you learn your drugs that way. And in general, instead of asking you to learn 6 drugs in one category, I really ask you to learn about one drug because most of those others perform and interact the same way. And I usually am choosing the most popular or the most common drug in those categories for you to actually learn about. So that is our getting started week. And like I say, this is where you're going to be testing out whatever your technology is and how does it interact with the Lippincott site. Do you have all the proper requirements? And are you able to, for instance, submit an exam in Prep You? Are you able to complete and submit a virtual simulation in Lippincott? So this is where all your technical questions are answered. Hopefully, this is where you contact technical support either at MCC or at Lippincott, depending on where your issue is, and get those issues resolved before we get into week 2. Because we get into week 2, hit the ground running, there's just no looking back. You have assignments that are due every single week. And so when we get into the syllabus, we'll talk about how we define those weeks. So let's look at week 2. So you have this focus video that I mentioned, I believe, where I outline, overview, what material is being presented that week, what are the chapters I'm expecting you to look at, what are the learning objectives for each of those chapters. And in some cases, I actually identify content that maybe isn't mentioned in a learning objective, but I still feel it's imperative for you to know about. The whole focus of this class is what nurses need to know about pharmacology. When we talk about safe medication administration, I'm not talking about keeping your patients safe and making sure they don't choke on their pills. Of course, that's a given. When I say safe medication administration, it has more to do with you as the nurse. Do you know about this drug? Do you know about the expected actions, about the interactions, about the side effects of this drug? Do you know which labs that you have to check before you give those meds? Do you know which physical assessments you have to check and in some cases document before you give a medication? And can you explain, if you're giving your patient 6 medications, can you explain what all these medications are as you administer them to the patient? It's not sufficient for you to say, well, you need to take this because your doctor ordered it for you. You need to understand why the doctor ordered it for the patient and what is the benefit from the patient taking it. So when I say safe medication administration, it has more to do with you and your knowledge base. So we have a quiz that's due every single week at the end of the week on that week's material. And then we have other assignments. This is an example of one. It's called a drug lookup. Throughout the course, we have 4 drug lookups. Each of those are worth 5 points. And there's a format for you to submit your drug lookup assignment inside Canvas. And we also then ask you to complete a VSIM. In week 3, you have a drug lookup for morphine. You also have your first virtual simulation. Now, you've already done one. Remember, in week 1, you've done a practice one. So you have an idea of what to expect. And we'll also talk about how those are graded momentarily. So this is pretty much what you can expect in Canvas. Here's where you'll look for your grade. So announcements will pop up for you if there's a new announcement, and then the course is laid out in modules or weekly modules. And then if you want to message me or anyone else in your class, you just click on people, start typing the name, and then you should be able to message. Speaking of messaging, now that the course is open, that is your best way to contact me, through Canvas. So we have weekly quizzes, we have a midterm exam, and then we have a final exam. So let's go to the syllabus and have a look together about what your expectations are for this course. I recommend that you print out the syllabus. So you could stop this video now and take a moment to print out the syllabus. It lives behind the syllabus tab that is on Canvas. If you don't print out the syllabus, at least print out the course schedule, which is the last pages of the syllabus, because you will need to somehow incorporate those very important dates into your calendar, however you keep yourself on track. So let's look. We've got important dates. The course runs through March 8th, which is the last date of the semester prior to spring break. So your grades then should be posted the weekend beginning of spring break. If you find that you're in this course in error and you want to withdraw from it and get a refund for the course, you have to do that by January 22nd. So that comes up pretty quickly, less than a week from the start of the class. If you want to withdraw and take a W on your transcript, you must do that by February 6th. So the requirements are Canvas, which you're in right now, and this ebook bundle, or rather this e-bundle provided by Lippincott. Lippincott is the company that provides all of the electronic resources for our nursing program, and they do provide our students with a pretty substantial discount. On page 5 of the syllabus are instructions about how to access this e-bundle. There's also a flyer. There's a tab on your Getting Started week that's a flyer that was produced by Lippincott that takes you to the Lippincott/MCC bookstore. And that's just another way to show you how to get into the course. What you're purchasing, and it is a big purchase, I realize. It's shocking to me, but I have seen over time how textbooks and e-bundles have gone up in price. What you're purchasing is the course, the ebook bundle, the course, which you have access to for 2 full years. So the whole time you're in the nursing program, you're going to have access to this course and all the resources it has, which we'll get into once I take you over to Lippincott. You have access to the ebook forever once you download it. And I'll remind you at the last week of the class to download it. If you choose to use it live, that's your choice. But once the course closes at the end of that 2 years, you won't have access to the ebook anymore unless you have downloaded it. And you're allowed to download it to 4 different devices. So if you want to download it to your iPad or your tablet or your phone or whatever, you can do that. 4 different places. If you have any questions about that, you just contact Lippincott Tech Support and they'll help you. Here's our course description, our course competencies. Those are standard for the district. And then here is our grading policy for this course. You see that the course is worth 300 points, and you earn your letter grade according to the number of points you've accrued throughout the course. This is an NUR course. This may be the first NUR course taken by, probably by paramedics at least. So this is an introduction to the grading scale for nursing courses. It's a little different than the school grading scale. So a 92% is a low A, an 84% is a low B, 76%, which is translated into these points, is a low C. So you can't complete this course with a 72 thinking you're getting a C. That equates to a D for this nursing course. So you must obtain a minimum of 228 points, 228 points, in order for you to get the lowest C possible for you to walk out with a passing grade. And here's how you earn those points. There are assigned weekly quizzes, which are due the last day of the week. So the weeks go from somewhere further on here. It tells you when the weeks start and end. The weeks start on Monday morning and they end on Sunday evening at 11:30 p.m. Not midnight, but 11:30 p.m. Not midnight, but 11:30 p.m. So these weekly quizzes must be submitted by Sunday at 11:30 p.m. And of course, each weekly quiz covers that week's course material, which hopefully you've been reading about. Each of those are worth 10 points. Those quizzes are timed, as is the midterm and the final timed. Because you are at home taking this test, I have to do whatever I can to promote academic honesty. And one thing I've done throughout this whole course is, which is considered best practice, is putting time limits on exams. So for a 10-point quiz, for a 10-question quiz, you have 10 minutes. For that 40-point midterm, the 40-question midterm and final, you have 40 minutes. Should you decide that you want to try to look up answers as you go, that's not recommended. These are not open book tests. You will run out of time. There's nothing I can do to stop you from doing that other than this caution that you will run out of time. So if the clock stops, if the test shuts down and you haven't hit submit yet, likely it's not going to show up in your Lippincott gradebook. If that happens, you need to message me. Let me know that you ran out of time. There is a way I can go in through the back door of Lippincott and give you credit for the questions that you answered correctly. I can see how long you were on the test and I can see what questions you answered correctly, even if you weren't able to hit submit for your test. So these are not open book. They're not made for you. I don't give you enough time for you to look up all the answers because hopefully you've learned the answers. That's my hope. Also, 4 virtual simulations that are assigned throughout this 8-week period. Those are done on Lippincott. Each of those are worth 10 points. So see this little asterisk here. Follow me down to the asterisk. VSIMs for nursing pharmacology. Students must attain 80% proficiency on the scenario and 100% on the post-test in order to earn full points. And you're like, what? That doesn't seem fair. Well, it is fair because you are allowed to repeat the scenario as many times as you like. I will be taking the highest score. You're also allowed to repeat the post test. This is within the Lippincott site. You're allowed to repeat the post test. So if the first pass you got an 80% on the post test, you go look at what you missed. You learn what the rationale was for what the right answer, and then you take it again. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get 100% when you're allowed to retake it. So you will be completing a tutorial on VSIMs that will show you there are 6 steps in every VSIM. There are, it starts with recommended reading, which that's a recommendation I have for you as well. It also then goes to a pretest. Now you look here and it says, it doesn't say anything about grades for a pretest. That's true. I don't require you to do the pretest for a VSIM. I strongly recommend that you do the pretest. The pretest is going to be 6 to 10 questions, and it will identify what you know and what you don't know. And what you don't know is then what we call a learning deficit. Then it shows you the correct answer, and it also gives you links to take you to how you to where you can read about the rationales for that correct answer that you missed, better preparing you to be successful in both the scenario and in the post test. So the pretest is strongly recommended. The scenario, of course, is required. You must get at least 80% proficiency, 100% on the post test. And then number 5 is a documentation step, not required for me. As you progress through the nursing program, other instructors will require you to submit your documentation. And then also guided reflection. Number 6 is guided reflection, where you have a chance to debrief your performance on the scenario. So I do not require parts 5 and 6. As you see here, parts 5 and 6 are not required. What you're required to submit is the scenario and the post test. And I see that you've completed those in Lippincott. I can also see who's completed the pretest in Lippincott, although that's not a requirement. And then the drug lookups, you'll be using Lippincott Advisor, which is another resource that you get inside this e-bundle that we'll talk about when we get to the Lippincott site. You submit those drug lookups via Canvas, and we'll show you how that's done. Here is, well, now the course is open. Please contact me through Canvas. As I said, that's the best way. Your attendance policy, this is an online course, but it is not a course that you can do at will. There are deadlines every single week. So if you miss a deadline, there's no recourse for you. I don't provide makeups because you have a whole week to submit a quiz. I think that's plenty of time. Unless there are extraordinary circumstances, you need to let me know about those. Your responsibilities are to understand, perform, and behave according to the guidelines noted in the MCC Student Handbook. Here's a link here. You have resources available for you on campus for tutoring, the Learning Enhancement Center. You also have counseling available. This is not, you have academic counseling, yes, but these are licensed therapists that are hired by the school for the student body. So if you have issues, if you have hardships coming around this semester, if you have issues related to work, related to money, related to relationships, if you're in a domestic violence situation, for instance, you can go to these counselors and they can get you the help for free because you are a student at MCC. You have access to these counselors. So please take advantage of that if you are a person in need of those services. I mentioned academic misconduct and dishonesty and how I do my best to try to dissuade students from attempting that. Another thing I do is to shuffle questions. If you want to get on and try to do a test at the same time with your friend, if you're on the phone with them, for instance, the questions are not coming up in the same order for you. So that's another way that I try to dissuade sharing of information. This is page 5 of the syllabus. This is the link for you to get to that Lippincott site. Then you'll be taken to the link where you can purchase this bundle, which is brand new this semester. It is the 9th edition here. You'll be putting that into your cart. Then the next step, now you've purchased the course. Now you have to get into my class, or the spring 2024 class. And you do that by joining a class. And here is the class code that you will use to get into the screens I'm going to show you momentarily. This is the course schedule. This is, if you choose not to print the syllabus, this is what I want you to print, these pages that takes you through weeks 1 through 8, reminding you about your 3 extra credit points. It's only available to you in the first week. Here's week 2. And this is what I mean by I don't want to scare you. You see all these chapters and you're like, how can we read all those chapters? But you'll see that each one of them, as I said, I've outlined a few learning objectives for each chapter. Week 1 is heavy because you've got all of this. The pharmacodynamics, the pharmacokinetics. How do these drugs get distributed? How do they get absorbed? How do they get metabolized? These are like basics that we need to know as we get into the different drug categories. So yes, this does come at the beginning in week 2, and there's no better place to put it. And then I want to bring your attention to chapter 4, especially to you paramedics. This is the nursing process in drug therapy and patient safety. This will be likely your first introduction to the nursing process. So all my experience teaching paramedics, here's what I know about paramedics is this is the hardest part of the bridge of making the leap from paramedicine to nursing. It is a change of mindset. The nursing process is a change of mindset. The critical thinking components that are required in the nursing process versus just following protocols. So please pay attention to chapter 4. The paramedics, chapter 4 is going to be your most important. And feel free to go back and review it. And then you do see on week 2, you've got your first drug lookup assignment. It reminds you that you need to go back to Canvas. And then you've got your week 2 quiz, reminds you need to go pick up that at the point. So here is when we start introducing drugs, because now we're getting into, these are drugs for the gastrointestinal system. Every week there is one chapter that's called Introduction to, and that is an overview of anatomy and physiology of that system. I kind of expect that you know that already. So I don't assign any learning objectives. I don't think throughout the whole course I assign any learning objectives to those intro chapters. They're there for you, and please review them if it's been quite a while since you've taken anatomy and physiology. But then you'll have 3 chapters. You've got those affecting gastrointestinal secretions, those affecting motility, and those antiemetic agents. So there'll be drugs introduced in each of these chapters that I'd expect you to learn about. And then we march through weeks similarly. And your first VSIM is due in week 3. You also have a drug lookup in week 3. And then right after week 4 is complete is your midterm exam that covers the content for weeks 2 through 4. And that's the way we march through our syllabus. Let me take you over to the Lippincott site. So you might have just this book. See, I teach patho as well. So I've got a patho book. This is Tucker. Notice it's the 9th edition, and we're going to launch it. And this screen will come up. Here's that class code, meaning you're already in the class. And let's go to content first, which is an overview of all the resources that are available. Here's your actual ebook outlined for you in units. But I'm going to show you that for most of this course, you're going to be starting in the assignments page. This is the bookshelf that can take you directly to your ebook, but this is another way you can get to your ebook. The Lippincott Advisor is actually many hospitals subscribe to Lippincott Advisor as a drug lookup for their nurses. Also, it's a place where many hospitals use Lippincott as best practice for their not policies, but procedures. So when you click on Lippincott Advisor, it just opens a treasure trove of information. Typically, what you're going to be doing is going to drugs, because this is what I want you to use for your drug lookup assignments. Do not use Google, please. Please use this, Lippincott Advisor, and answer the questions related to the drug lookup. But you'll see there's all sorts of other things here that you can use. Remember, you're going to have access to this for 2 years. You can look up diseases and conditions, signs and symptoms, diagnostic tests. Of course, PrepU, you can go directly to PrepU and you can create your own self-assessment exams. You can just input what chapters, say I just read these 5 chapters, I'm going to go click on those 5 chapters and I want to answer 25 questions. But this is on the assignments page, it will take you to PrepU when you're taking an assigned weekly quiz or an exam. Virtual simulation is another place you can go look at all the virtual simulations. You've got quite a few included here in this course. I'm only assigning 4. Well, there's the 5th one that you do during getting started week, but I'm only assigning 4. But you know what? Go crazy. I think the virtual sims are great for teaching you and reminding you about all the things that you have to do repetitively. Obviously, you walk into a patient's room. If you forget to wash your hands, you lose points. So it's reminding you about every single thing that you do in real life. If you forget to ask the patient their name and date of birth, you'll lose points on the VSIM, because identifying our patient correctly by looking at their armband and asking them their name and date of birth is an essential element for safe medication administration. So anyway, VSIMS is there if you want to go in and explore. Stedman's is a medical dictionary where you can look things up. This is a new feature in the 9th edition that I'm a fan of. It's called the 1 Minute Nurse, and I've actually assigned some of these throughout the weeks if they are related. So here we have one, the 1 Minute Nurse is anticoagulant versus antiplatelet versus thrombolytics. This is a nurse or an actress that looks like a nurse. The 1 Minute Nurse is a little bit of false advertising because I couldn't find one that was only 1 minute, but they are 2 to 3 minutes. And just the facts, very succinct information, in this case about this over category that we call anticoagulants. Really, we can divide down into what are true anticoagulants, what are true antiplatelets, what are true thrombolytic drugs, and examples of names of those and when those would be appropriate, how they work. And so I've actually assigned some, but please know that you can just click on 1 Minute Nurse and go in here, and here's one on chronic kidney disease. Oh, that one is assigned. If you see a date on it, a blue date, that means I have assigned it as part of, I want you to look at it when you're going through your resources. And then particular disorders like diabetes, here's one about a particular drug, digoxin, etc. So I mentioned quite often how it's the assignments tab that I think you'll do best with. Results is the Lippincott gradebook. Please know that I take the Lippincott points and I transfer them manually over to Canvas. But I don't do that every day. So don't be looking for those grades every day. I really only do it about once a week. So this is what your assignments tab looks like, and this is why I think you should spend most of your time here. This is the instructor view, so everything is lined up. Your view won't look like this. All you will see is what's coming up for this week for you that matches with your schedule that is both in Canvas and on the back pages of your syllabus. So you will only see probably these two items. This is your access to that VSIM, and this is your practice quiz in PrepU. So this would take you into the simulation. This will take you into the PrepU quiz. Before I go any further, I want you to see this. At the top of every page in Lippincott, top right side, is Training and Support tab. If you've never used ebooks before, if you've never been in a Lippincott course before, please spend some time here. You are a nursing student, so you're going to click on View Nursing Student Training. This is a Course Point Plus course, so you're going to click on Lippincott Course Point Plus. Put in your school email address and your name. So I had already started to do a few of these, so that's why it's leaving me here on page 29. But if you look to the left-hand side here, here's where I want you to spend some time. Go to PrepU if you've never taken a PrepU exam before, and spend a few moments here on these tutorials of how PrepU works, remembering that you can use it to self-assess, and then you also have assigned PrepU quizzes and exams by me that are timed. I want you to go to ebooks if you've never used an ebook before. It teaches you how to highlight, how to make flashcards, how to share your highlights with other students, how to take notes. Lippincott Advisor, I think I gave you an overview of that already. And then this is very important, VSIM. So this is an overview of how VSIM looks and how it works. The other important thing to know about VSIM is that there is a tab that it says watch on YouTube, but in real life, if you're on this screen, there's a tab at the bottom that has further tutorials. Also, when you open the first page that shows you the patient scenario and it shows you the patient's picture and it has their history, there are also little tutorial hotspots that you can click on around that opening screen, like how to take the patient's vital signs, how to give the patient a medication, how to assess the patient's respirations. So that's why this week one is so important, that you spend some time in the virtual simulations and get comfortable with them. So take a look at this tutorial. It reminds you what they call it Learn Flow. It's also known as the workflow, keeping in mind there are 6 steps. 1 is recommended reading. 2 is the pretest. I recommend that you take the pretest to identify your learning deficits. Number 3 is actually completing the scenario. Number 4 is the post-test. Number 5 and 6 are not required. Number 5 is documentation. Number 6 is guided reflection. Those are not required. But remind yourself that you can do the scenario again. It will give you a score. Then you go look at the feedback page. The feedback page tells you everything you did right with a green check and everything you did incorrectly with a red X. Sometimes you might do something correctly, but you're doing it out of order or you're doing it way too late. Like at the very end of the scenario, you ask the patient their name and date of birth. That should have been done at the top. So then you can look at what your errors were. Then you can go back and do it again and correct those errors. Remember that is getting there. That pathway is always there at the top of every page in the right-hand corner, training and support. And the ones I want you to look at are PrepU, VSIM, and ebook. So as I mentioned, every week new chapters will unroll, and this is where you can actually read the chapters. So let's just open chapter number 6 here. This is in your second week. Challenges to effective drug therapy. See, I've highlighted 2 learning objectives for you. I've highlighted some key terms for you, and then I've highlighted text. So when you subscribe to my highlights, these highlights don't appear in your book. They appear in the notes section over here. This is what instructor highlights will look like once you follow or subscribe to instructor highlights. And the directions on how to do that are under a tab on the Getting Started week of Canvas. Now, you can choose to see that I've highlighted what the phases of a clinical trial are, and you can choose then to go to your book and do the same, highlight it yourself, or you can choose just to review these notes. Do not attempt to print them out. You can print them, but the sum total of all my highlights is 303 pages. So you do not want to be printing 303 pages. That is ridiculous. So either look at these highlights as you're reading your book, or go ahead and highlight the same things I'm highlighting and do the reading of those highlights as well. Okay, we have looked at Canvas. We've overviewed the syllabus. We've looked at Lippincott. I think that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, this is a lot, I understand. If you have any questions about anything, first go look at the syllabus, because very often the answer is there. But then message me. You're going to message me in Canvas, and I generally will get back to you within 24 hours. I'm looking forward to this semester, and once again, if you find you're in this course by error, please contact me or contact an advisor to help get you out of it so that you can get a refund for the course. And thank you for your attention, and I look forward to a great next 8 weeks. Thanks.